that you're going to save money somehow by recreating these people over here and not paying these actors over and over and over
AI.
by using AI. Like,
AI doesn't cost.
Isn't it the same thing though? Like, I mean, it's computer generated.
Production companies know that special effects companies are bent over a barrel right now because every movie requires special effects. Even Oppenheimer, it is claiming that it is a special effects-less film.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Fuck Your Podcast. I'm Emma Pardo.
And I'm Katie Martin. And welcome back to the pod, our friend David Skaggs, a gentleman and a scholar.
I am
an intellectual.
Oh, got a lot of things we're going to chat about today. What's new with you since the last time we chatted?
Not too terribly much. Just got back last week from New Orleans. I was shooting an event down there called Tales of the Cocktail, which I'm working on the edit for right now. Finished up some edits for Cabo Wabo and NASCAR's partnership, which is always fun. And then
that's fun.
Yeah, just been pretty busy going through some home life things, as people do. But
Sure.
we got a new puppy, which is always fun.
Oh,
yeah.
See?
So the puppy is not here yet. She's only 6 weeks old, so she is getting spayed tomorrow. But I have photos. Hold on.
Yeah, we could go right into the first segment, which is like, what's a big win like for right now? And that's a pretty big, exciting new thing.
Oh my goodness.
That's a cute puppy.
Yeah.
That's a cute puppy.
Oh.
What kind of dog is it?
I have no idea.
Oh, no idea.
So, nope. It was an interesting Friday. So went into the office on Friday because we were having like a going away party for some of the people who had left the company. It was like their last day, so I went in to the office for like the happy hour, and had been up pretty late the night before talking to a buddy, so was pretty wiped, and walked in, and there were two puppies like just sitting there because one of my coworkers is fostering them, and I immediately called Madison on FaceTime and was like, "What do you think about this?" And she was like, "I think it's the right time."
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So we put the application in, and hopefully we get to bring her home next week.
Well, that's exciting.
That's so exciting.
Her name is Parker.
That's cute.
Aww, that's cute. I was gonna say Cole's sister's pregnant right now. They just named her Parker.
No way.
That's so funny. Yeah, they named her Parker. So popular name right now, I guess.
Yeah. I wanted to name her Penny Lane, but we have a niece named Penelope, so it feels weird, which sucks.
A little too close, yeah.
Yeah, it just sucks because I've wanted a dog named Penny Lane since I was like 10. Like my entire life, I've wanted a dog named Penny Lane since I watched Almost Famous as a kid, and then I was like, so now I never get it because Penny's gonna outlive all the dogs. She's 6. It's not like somebody already has a dog named Penny, and I just gotta wait for that dog to die before I can take it. Like Penny's a person,
right? Well, and I was gonna ask if they actually call her Penny, or if they were waiting for her to be a little bit older. But it sounds like they
call her Penny. It's bullshit. I hate it.
Well, that's exciting, Emma. What's one big new? Like we're gonna call this like our weekly wins. So like something exciting.
I guess it was last week. I mean, we've got a lot of the social content for clients done for the month. So it's like exciting. I've opened up a lot in my schedule, but like for today, for Monday, I think my win for today is that it's Monday and I haven't cried yet. Like, I don't know. I have really actually in reality, I don't think I've cried in a long time.
I'm gonna say what would you cry about on a
Monday?
I
don't know.
Life
in general. Yeah. It doesn't take much to make me cry. So yeah, we'll just go with that one for now. But what about you, Katie? Let's hear it from you.
I was gonna say it's like our third consecutive day of bringing on a new client, like in a row.
True, and that's all props to Katie, because I suck at sales. I've tried. I've gone through lists and I've sent the messages and then I'm just like scared. I mean, we've had some people that have responded and I've been like chatting them up, but then they either die off or that sounded really dark. You know what I mean? They stop communicating or they're not interested. So
No, my networking has been like on point the last couple of weeks. So
this is
one of those
true.
things that I was younger, I'm like, I'm not joining a networking group. That sounds stupid. That sounds something that old people do. And now I'm in a networking group and it's fabulous. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm with you, Emma. I fucking hate sales. Like, it's the hardest part about being a freelancer for me is not like the creation. It's the like, I know what I'm worth, but I don't want to tell people that number because that feels really high. And what if people say no? And then like,
Yeah, it's that
justify it.
overthinking everything.
Yeah. So I always
But
like,
it's also
I offer
Sorry, go ahead.
discounts. No, I offer discounts like before somebody asks for them. I'm like, I'll just discount myself. And it's like, no,
And then
like,
you do,
yeah.
and then you're like, damn it, why did I do that? It's like an
Right.
instant regret. And I know that feeling. I was gonna say, I think my thing is like what's terrifying is that my whole life I'm beyond my years in my opinion. I know we've discussed this before on this podcast, but the fact that I'm only 25 and I'm doing this with Katy, which is a huge help, but I'm a 25-year-old entrepreneur and I'm a female. Especially in the industry that we're working in, which is specializing in home services or contractors, which is a male dominated industry, it's hard for people to take me serious, if that makes sense. I could say and have all this knowledge in the world that I have. Well, not all this knowledge in the world. There's so many things I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like having all this knowledge of like, I can transform your social media to be organically generating leads, but people don't, I don't know. It's hard to sell yourself in that industry.
Where do you draw the line with like the family and friends like discount? So like, I mean, you gave me a friends and family discount. I've given other people a friends and family discount, like obviously different services. But on the creative side of things, like, do you ever feel like you have to tell somebody, okay, don't tell anybody what I charged you for this? Like, don't tell, like, this is what you're charging. It's significantly discounted because of X, Y, and Z, but don't tell anybody what I charged you for it.
I had that once. So like I have a just normal friends and family discount,
Yeah.
which is basically like I would say it's anywhere between like 30 and 50% off depending on like where it was during the time where I offered it, and where I was charging. But the hardest thing is like when it's not exactly my friends and family, more so it's like my family, friends and family. Like so like for example, I just did a wedding in Florida that I finished and it turned out great. But the family had money, like they're really they I mean they had they were pretty well off. And I remember talking to my parents about it, and it's like my mom's best friend. And I was like, yeah, I was like, and she's always been like, don't discount my family. Like, don't ever offer a discount to my family. And I'm like, okay. Because the one time I did, it became a fucking nightmare. So she's like, don't discount. So I was like, okay. I was like, so I should charge them full thing, right? And she's like, oh, I wouldn't charge them at all if I were you. And I was like, oh, so you guys are going to go to Florida for this wedding vacation, and my wife and I are going to go down there and work all day.
I was going to ask you.
That's it. So like, it's just it's difficult. Like, I mean, the line is drawn in sand in my experience. Like, there's no concrete, unfortunately. Like, the concrete line should be straight up like no discount. Your friends and family should want to pay you what you're worth, but at the same time, you also want to be like, well, I want you to have the best work possible. So if I have to do it cheaper in order to avoid you hiring somebody who's shitty, then I'll do that too. Because then you just have to go back and fix somebody else's work later. So
I was gonna ask, is your major like category that you shoot weddings, or is that just like all you shoot?
No, I would say now I do predominantly my agency work.
Commercial,
yeah. So like I'm going down at the end of the month to Frisco, Texas, which is like an hour north of Dallas, and I'm shooting the Audi Quattro Cup. So it's like the last like minor league golf tournament before you can like qualify for the pros. Like it's like the last qualifier So I'm going down there for 3 days to shoot that. Like I shoot a lot of social media content now. Before it was mostly weddings, but COVID changed that.
Yeah.
I went
Right.
50, I went 50-50 because weddings stopped for a full year. So my freelance stuff, predominantly weddings, because I don't like doing freelance corporate work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a crew to do the $25,000 shoots. So I'm doing like the $500 a day thing. And that ends up becoming quantity over quality, which I was doing really fine with for a long time. But now I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired and I don't want to do
Yeah.
40 edits a week for clients,
But I was
So
gonna say, from like, how many friends have you shot weddings for?
I haven't been a guest at a wedding.
I was gonna say, does that get annoying? That was my
Right?
question, was like, like I thought about it, like when I get married someday, it's like you think about those like little details, and it's like I know photographers, and I was like, I know Emily's planning her wedding, and I don't know if you're shooting her wedding or not.
Not yet. I might be eventually.
Right. I don't know how far
Not
she's
yet.
got planned. I know she had mentioned it, and I was like, thought about it, and I was like, I would just invite David to my wedding. Like,
Right.
I am sure he's so sick and tired of working for friends. And I get it, like, it's not like it's a bad thing. It's not like it's inconsiderate of those people, but also at the same time, I'm like, but David's a friend, and I don't want my friends working at my wedding. You know what I mean? Like, I thought about that before. It was like, it's a lot.
I've shot last year, maybe the year before last, I guess. I don't know. It all blends together. I shot my best friend's wedding. I was the best man and also the wedding videographer.
Oh, dang.
So like, I didn't do anything the day of the wedding. Like, I gave a speech
Right.
at the rehearsal dinner.
Right.
But it was like a weird conversation with even him, like there was like a little element of like, I don't want to work your wedding. But at the same time, like, I'm very honored that you basically said like, you don't want anybody but me to shoot the wedding. So it's like, what do you do in that situation?
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I've been a true guest at a wedding, not even at my sister's wedding, because like I also worked video we did a same day edit, so I like helped on that at my sister's wedding 6 years ago. So like I don't think I've been a true guest since Madison's sister 2.5. We weren't even engaged 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I was a guest, but even then, while we were in Chicago, I got a call from a company that was like, "Hey, any chance you want to drive to Chicago tomorrow and like shoot a wedding for us?" So Madison's sisters was on Saturday, and we drove in on Thursday night. And they're like, "Any chance you want to like shoot a wedding in Chicago on Friday? We'll pay you extra to drive in." And I was like,
Oh my God.
I was already there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had nothing to do the day before.
Yeah.
So I was like,
but still, that's a lot.
I looked at Mads and I was like, do you care if I work this wedding the day before your sister's wedding? And like, I could pay for our entire trip in one day. Like, let's just do that. And then we go back to we even out financially from this trip.
Right.
So I did that. And, I shot a wedding the day before. And then ironically, the company that I shot for also did Madison's sister's wedding. So the photographer that I worked for the day that I worked with on Friday was the photographer on Saturday.
Oh, that's funny.
So I was like, she was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "Oh, great. I can't wait to like help you today." So like literally her dad started getting his toast, and the videographer wasn't there. He was like out fucking off doing something.
Oh my God.
So I like ran over, took his camera, went over, sat down, and turned and watched this dude freak the fuck out for about 15 seconds because where his camera was in his head was not where it was in reality, and he couldn't understand like how it happened.
Oh
yeah,
man.
It was great. He was pissed. I thought it was funny. But yeah, I mean, like, there's never a point where I'm not working at a wedding anymore. It's like, so.
Well, hey,
I've shot
if and when I get married, you're just gonna be a guest.
I'm not if you're gonna hire a crap videographer. You're not. I'm not.
No, I'll take your recommendation.
Okay, there you go.
And then you can just be a guest.
That was the hardest part of getting married, was hiring the vendors that like of everybody that I knew, because we got married we knew we wanted to get married in October, which is one of the busiest months for vendors. So I was like, we have to get married on a Friday. We can't get married on a Saturday. And Madison was like, why? And I was like, well, because I've got a lot of vendor friends that are going to want to come. But if we take October 29th out of there, if we ask all these people to black out this date, I'm going to be looking out at our attendance, at the people in our like audience, for lack of a better term, and be like, there is $70,000 of lost income sitting out there right now, like between everybody. So then we had to pick the person who was going to work our event. So like, I wanted to hire out of town people, like people I just didn't know. So we did that for video. We hired a girl that I had worked with a couple of times, and I really liked her work. So we hired Logan. She drove in from KC. That was totally fine for video. And then photography was really difficult. So when we were going through our A, B, and C invite list, these people, this couple that like helped me get started back in the day, kind of fell on the low B list. And like, I couldn't justify like moving them up because like, you know, I have a lot of vendor friends that I see all the time. And these were two that I like didn't see all the time. But they like really helped me early on. So like, I just looked at Madison and I was like, instead of like feeling awkward about them being left out, why don't we just have them shoot it?
Yeah.
And our photos turned out great. Like, I mean, we have a couple printed off. Like ironically, I didn't care too terribly much about our photo and video. Like, I just wanted the day to happen. Like, I wanted to marry my best friend. I didn't want to I didn't care about it. So like it was very easy for us. Like we were planned, our whole wedding was basically planned within 6 weeks of getting engaged. Like we had our venue within 3 days. Like we didn't go and have to tour anything. Like it was just like, done. The hardest part was picking the videographer because I tried to hire one from Texas and they hit me with a $20,000 price tag. And then another one was in Amsterdam. So I had to go on their website, use Google Translate to translate the website to English, then type in my own answers into Google Translate it back to Dutch and submit it. And Madison came down and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm emailing a wedding videographer." And she's like, "Not the part that I'm questioning. Why are you typing it in Dutch?" And I was like, "Well, I don't speak English."
That's funny.
And she's like, "We're going to circle back to what the fuck are you doing then? Like, why are you, what are we supposed to do if they don't speak English?" I'm like, "They're the best in the world." She's like, "Then we don't have the money to hire them." Like, accurate. It was £10,000 plus travel.
I would agree with the whole like I'm not so worried about it mentality because you know I see Emily firsthand like, oh my god, we've got to do all this and we've got to do all that, and it sounds fucking stressful. I've said to Cole so many times, I'm like, let's just go, you and me get married at the courthouse, and then when we feel like telling people that we got married, we can tell people we got married, or we could like act like
Colorado.
Why?
Colorado, you can self-marry. You don't even need a clergy or like an officiate.
Really?
Like
I didn't know that.
Yep, I think it's one of the only states in the country that you can do it. So like you could elope
without anybody officiating it.
Without anybody officiating
That's crazy.
it. So you can like fill out your own marriage certificate and send it in and stuff like that. Yeah. It's pretty dope.
That's crazy. I would love to do that, just like not like it just be a very intimate thing between Cole and I, or whoever I marry. I mean, I'm hoping it's Cole. Obviously, I moved to fucking Texas, but like, you know, like having that be just like a very.
Frisco?
Oh, she's in Houston. She's way
I'm in
far.
Houston, so where Cole was before, he was in Dallas, and we both moved to Houston to be closer to crew. We're about 3 hours from Dallas, 3.5 hours from Dallas. So you're looking at probably 4.5 hours.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I was gonna have you come over. We're about when you were in Austin.
Austin's closer.
So
yeah, Austin's pretty boring. Austin's pretty scary too. Like most big
so
cities.
Hot. You get Austin, San Antonio, it just gets even hotter. Like, I don't know.
We are. Oh, let me check this because I know we talk about it a lot on this podcast. We always just check my weather. We've been like a heat index of 112 for like the past week.
Ew.
So I'm curious as to what it is right now. We're
actually
always
fairly nice here. Like it's supposed to be in the 80s.
Don't worry, it's 114 here.
Oh, gross.
So
that's gross.
That's been fun to navigate, especially having a sprinkler system and trying to figure that out. Our sprinkler system's been off the past 3 weeks and we didn't know.
We're on a podcast tangent.
Yeah.
I know.
I was
Really.
gonna ask, well, we talked about the friends and family discount because you're shooting my brother's wedding.
Yeah.
I'm not getting married. It's for my brother. So you're working it because you don't know my brother. I'm I'm hiring you. But I was talking about you the other day when I was at his house when we were doing stuff for the wedding. And I was curious because I never did ask you, like when you hired somebody to shoot it, did you want to go in and like meddle with any of the editing? Like, did they edit all of it? Did you edit any of it?
I have all the raw footage,
Mm.
but I specifically hired Logan because her editing style is so different than mine
Oh, okay.
that so like I'm sure you've seen it. It's like very editorial. It's like very it's not very story. It's got good story, but it's like
Yeah.
it jumps around throughout the day and her music
Hmm.
choices are so different than mine. So like I could have hired somebody that like I had trained and
Right.
then I would have meddled around with it for forever.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, I specifically hired somebody whose shooting style was similar to mine, that so I trusted her skill,
Right.
her technical skill. But then her editing style is so different, so I was never questioning why she was where she was because I was like, I
Mm.
don't know how she's viewing this through
Right.
her
To edit
lens.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so it was. I don't want to sound cocky, but I crushed getting married. Like I did so good, the whole thing. I nailed it. Like like the only thing I didn't do well was I told Madison like a week before we got married, we were laying in bed, and I was like, "Can I get something off of my chest?" And she was like, "Sure." I was like, "I am deathly afraid of one thing at our marriage, like at our wedding." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "I am terrified that I'm not gonna like your dress." I was like, "I'm so scared that like I'm just not gonna do it." Like I don't know. I'm sorry. Like I'm like this is a real fear because I love this about her. But she is the most frugal person on the fucking planet. Like she does not buy things for herself, whereas I throw money around because money's a construct to me. Like I'll always be able to make more. Like if I'm ever
Right.
broke, like historically, if I'm broke, oh hey, here's this contract that I forgot to sign 6 months ago. And we talked about doing your brother's wedding, and here's the deposit. Like it
Right.
magically shows up like that.
Yeah. Well, that's Cole's mentality on things too. It's like money always comes back.
Yeah.
Right. So Madison bought her wedding dress for $400 the
Mm-hmm.
first place she went to, which was like an off the rack, off season store. It was like Mia Grace's off season
Yeah.
place.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, she operates on like a thing of like, if it costs 10% of what it should cost, and I only like it 90%, that justifies the thing to her. Like, yeah, it's
Right.
not perfect, but it's 1/10 the cost. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
no,
Like
you want the perfect thing. Like,
right.
spend the money for the perfect thing. So I was like so scared that I was gonna be like, this is like just and she's like, no, it's beautiful. Like you're gonna I love it. It just happened to be very inexpensive as well. But
Hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was like, that doesn't happen very often though. Like that's in my experience. And yeah, that was the only thing that I didn't do well was like just straight up telling her, I'm scared I'm not gonna like your dress and I have no poker face. So if I don't like your dress and you round that corner for the first time and I see it, I'm gonna be like, yeah. Like,
Oh, you're way too immersed in the wedding industry. Like, I would
Right.
say probably you're the 10% of grooms that give a shit way more about their wedding than most dudes. But that's
oh,
because
you
you're
should have.
you're in the industry, so you know the details and like you see the good things and you see the bad things and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I want like you have standards because like you already had a standard in your mind for your wedding where
Mhm.
I guess most guys would probably have somewhat of a standard, but all the details that the women get all stressed out about are usually they're like whatever.
They
And
don't even know.
yeah, they have
It's
no
that
clue how it happens.
it's that TikTok trend of like that noise, like, oh, this is
Yeah.
nice, of like dudes going into this
Right.
wedding day. Something that their wife is now
Hmm.
has spent the last 10 months planning, and
Planning.
they're like,
Right.
this looks good job. Like, no. I went to our planning meeting with our venue without Madison. Madison was at work and she was like, can you go? I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. So I
That's
went and I
funny.
met with like the 200-year-old women that run the Lamp Mansion. And I think that they're a part of the Lent family. Like
Yeah.
that they I don't like, not literally. I think they're like the ghosts of the Lent family that like still run it, and we just don't know.
Right.
Because
Right.
they mailed us a fucking contract.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, there's no e-sign here. Like I had to sign it with like a fucking quill
In blood.
and like, yeah.
We had my mom's 50th surprise birthday at the Limp. I love the Limp.
It was a really great venue.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
It was awesome. But like I went to the meeting with the person and she was like, so is your fiance coming? And I was like, no. And she's like, do you want to, like, I'm there. I'm sitting across from her in person. She's like, do you want to reschedule? And I was like, no. And she's like, do you know anything? Yeah. Fucking Barb, let's go. Like, what do you need? I'll give you the answers. Like, I'm sorry. Like, fuck. I was so like mad. And I just like didn't want to be there. And I was just like, so I'm like got my iPad. I'm like sketching out where things are. And she's like, have you been here before? I was like, yes, ma'am, we've hung out. Like I've shot weddings here.
Right.
Like, yeah, it was wild.
My poor brother, we were they had bought all of this, supplies for the decorations, to decorate the venue. And I was like, well, do you need some help? I went over there and they're stressing out because we can't get into the venue until the morning of the wedding. Like, you can't, like, there's no, like, they can't do rehearsal there. They can't do anything. So you can't get into the morning of the wedding.
The venue's in Alton, right?
No, like north of Alton, like another 20 minutes north of Alton.
Yeah. Okay.
So
they probably have a wedding the day before, right?
Yeah, they do. They have an event because the wedding's on a Friday. It's not on a Saturday.
Oh.
So
that's weird.
They can't get in, and I think it's a Friday. I don't know, but they can't get in until the morning of. So they were stressing out. So the bride is like saying, well, I can get up and I can go there and we can decorate. I'm like, bitch, no, it's your wedding day. Like, you're not doing any of that stuff. So right. I go, here's what we're going to do. And so we laid out and decorated, like made the arrangements for each guest table, like how they wanted it set up, and took pictures and whatnot. My poor brother's just sitting there going, what more do we need to buy? And she had a list of, I'm like, okay, you have this, we need this. You have this, but we need this. And he's like, great. So they ended up just, he's though, like, at least not completely involved, but he's paying attention to what we're doing. But I would say he still falls in the 90% of being that they're paying for, this is their second marriage, they're paying for it all themselves. So obviously he has more of a hand in, has more of a hand in paying for it. So he's a little more involved. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good like point when you're in the industry and you have to hire somebody to do what you do. It is difficult. Like it's difficult to say, okay, I'm going to hire you. I mean, especially when it's creative, like even though like I don't make cakes all the time anymore, it's not something that I do. I only do it for somebody who asks that I know at this point, but I'm like super judgmental if if somebody else does it for like a party that's
how I am watching somebody get married and there's a videographer there. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know how good you are, but you're making a mistake.
Right.
Like, I don't know where it is. I just haven't found it yet. But when I do,
That's so funny.
Oh, man. So what was the next thing that we had on our list, Emma?
We have a bunch. I mean, we could talk about the latest news story. We could talk about our favorite TikToks. We've got so yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with your
I was gonna say, have you heard in the world of entertainment? Have you heard the rumors that there is not going to be a Mandalorian season 4, that they're likely going to shoot a theatrical release movie instead? That's the rumor going around. And it's the rumor, I want to say, started maybe a month ago, but it finally started catching traction on actual news outlets like last week. And all the YouTubers are talking about it. So
I want to assume that that's probably right, because like Pedro Pascal is probably in the middle of shooting. They've already basically said like season 2 of The Last of Us is not going to follow the game as closely.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be a shot for shot adaptation like
the first season
1 was.
Right.
Right. Because like spoilers for whoever hasn't played that game, like Pedro Pascal's character gets like
Yeah.
real early on in 2, and you play as Ellie for the entire game.
Right.
So they're probably not gonna like write off Pedro Pascal in the first episode and then just like have it be only Ellie. Like they're gonna spend a decent amount of time making you fall in love with this character, so you do care when he dies in the show. So like he might not have the time, but I heard he's not even on set anymore. Like it's a purely voiceover role for him until the episodes where he takes the helmet off.
Right.
And it's a stunt
a lot of it is.
Now. I read an article today, which is pretty cool. It's entertainment as well. That the guy, so they greenlit Scream 7. And they're gonna finish like the new. Yeah, so they made 5 and 6.
Right.
And they're kind of like rounding out their like new trilogy with like new characters, and 5 and 6 are both really good, but it's a new director for Scream 7, which is interesting. Like the 2 guys who made 5 and 6 are the 2 guys who did Ready or Not, which was like a really good little indie horror film back a couple of years ago. And they hired, I don't remember what the new director's name is, but they did Happy Death Day and
which was pretty successful.
Yeah,
the first one anyway. I don't know about the second one.
Yeah, they didn't do the second one. They only did the first one. And they also made that horror comedy body switch movie with Vince Vaughn, where like the serial killer and the victim like switch bodies. Like, Vaughn is like, it's like a Freaky Friday. It's a horror movie. I don't know what it was. I think it's called Freaky, and it's just like this little indie horror film. So it's like kind of cool that they're bringing like the horror comedy that the first 3 Screams kind of had, the like meta comedy that the newer ones didn't have. So I'm pretty excited because Scream is my favorite franchise. Like it's my favorite horror franchise of all time. So I'm pretty excited. I'm excited about it. And I swear to God, if Matthew Lillard doesn't come back, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind, because I've been waiting for 3 movies now. I've been like, it's Matthew Lillard. He's coming back.
I love him.
Die.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that happens.
Have you guys been keeping up with any of this is also entertainment, but something that like is just everywhere right now about Lizzo being canceled.
Yep.
Yeah,
She's
I mean, I've not
canceled
heard
hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the canceling, like I can see that aspect of it, but I've not really read all the details. I'm kind of hearing through like videos and shit.
And then the reason why I bring this up is because I've been seeing a lot of people that shame her during like, or not during, but like in the body positivity category, because she's very positive about her body. It comes off as a way of like glorifying obesity.
Yeah.
And the point of body positivity is just to love the state that you're in, but look to improve, not just be like, it is what it is. So she is all about that. And her backup dancers are typically plus size. If that, like, I hate saying that, but like they're not like the little petite, like 6-pack people you see as other people's backup dancers. And she's getting sued because someone had gained, like, at least this is what I think. One of her backup dancers had gained weight and she fired them due to some weight gain and like something relevant to firing somebody over weight.
Yeah.
There was sexual, like not assault, but a harassment charges as well against her that like.
Yeah. And she had posted on Instagram. Let me find it actually. Her like basically apology, and it kind of seemed half-assed to me. Let me see. I won't read the whole thing because it's like pages long, but the part where she says, "I'm very open with my sexuality and expressing myself, but I cannot accept or allow people that use that openness to make me out to be something I am not." Basically, like, I said what I said, I am who I am, and I don't care if it offends you because you took it the wrong way. It's like, it crosses a line in the professional environment. You don't talk about that professionally. I don't care how close you are with your backup dancers. You just don't talk about it.
No. Well, and so here's the thing.
Strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out for her.
Yeah, I mean, the sexual harassment side of it, you can't really get away from. Now, depending on the contracts that the backup dancers sign, you can have weight and like stuff that's normally discriminatory from a normal job when it's in the entertainment world. I mean, think of casting. Like if a
it's
character
is, but yeah,
I mean, but if you're casting a character, I mean, and it could be under the same umbrella, and it depends on the contract language, but that's the only time in the entertainment industry where something like that is a stipulation. I mean, back in the day, they used to do the same thing with flight attendants, but that had to do with how tall they were in order to access overhead compartments and shit like that.
Right.
But you can get away with that stuff when it's casting, because that's different. That's not saying, hey, you can't do this data entry job because you're fat. Like, they're saying that you can't play the part of a skinny dancer because you're not, like that.
Right.
But the thing is,
That's
it's like
different.
she wants to glorify that, and the people that she does hire, they're not the type, they're not these girls that weigh 115 pounds, like if you
Right.
have that in your aesthetic or your brand or however you want to portray Lizzo, getting mad at somebody that's qualified to do the job just because they gained 5 pounds is a little extreme.
Yeah. I don't know. She made the worst episode of The Mandalorian ever, so I don't care.
Yeah. I didn't even finish
I
that
don't
season.
care. God, that was so bad. That season was that season had like 2 really great moments, and the rest of it I was like, oh, which has now made me nervous for like the Ahsoka show coming out, because that's like one of my favorite characters. And I'm like, please God, don't ruin this. Please don't ruin this for me. That's why I can't get too excited.
That's how I felt when
you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Is kind of how I feel about Star Wars right now. It's
right.
like,
Yeah. I can definitely see that. And I'm wondering, so what I was talking about as far as the release of a movie, them announcing, it's just a weird coincidence that, have you seen all of this stuff? Like a ton of YouTubers have been covering it, that like, I think we're starting to enter the backlash like of gigantic budget movies, where, because they're doing so poorly, aside from like Barbie, like Barbie and Oppenheimer, but like all of the DC movies, the superhero movies, where they're dumping in this ridiculous budget and they're not coming anywhere a fraction like of coming close to like making back their budget. And historically, I was reading this article, historically this happened in the 1960s. There's a whole like Cleopatra was an example, just these over budget Hollywood movies for the 1960s. And you know what we ended up getting in the 1970s? A string of classic movies like Dog Day Afternoon, like all of these, where they were just lower budget but with quality acting and quality writing. And you had almost an entire decade of like some of the best cinema ever created. So they're wondering if that's going to be like the next 10 years, if we're going to see that, because we're going to get a backswing to all of these studios who are paying out ridiculous amounts of money for all of these movies that will not even come close to making it back.
It depends on what happens with the strike.
Right.
I mean, really, it depends on where that lands, because like,
true,
the reason so it's very interesting you talk about this, like, because the issues with Hollywood and movies right now as a whole is the studios did not adjust from COVID. Like, they did not adjust.
Yeah, not really.
They went, like, as soon as the movie theaters opened back up, as soon as the world opened back up, movie production houses and like Fox, Disney, all these kinds of things, the like top people, not the ones who like make the movies, they were like, all right, movies are back up, people are going to come back to the theater. And like, I before COVID would see a movie every week, at least one. I would go to the theater. I loved it. I loved going to a theater. I did not want to watch movies from home. The popcorn, the soda, going out, seeing it on a big screen like that,
the experience of it.
Yeah, I loved it. Then COVID happened, and I think I've seen 2 movies in theaters this year, and only because
I've seen one.
They were very important to me to watch in a theater. But like, I'm not even gonna go see Oppenheimer, and like, I want to see Oppenheimer, but I'm not gonna go to a theater that, one, can't even fucking play it correctly because he shot it on a film stock that you can only that can only be seen in 17 theaters across the country.
Yeah.
So like, it's just Nolan being fucking Nolan, which is fine. Like,
that movie was great, by the way.
I'm sure it was. But
it was really good.
Like, how can I be the most extra male that I can be?
He's like that. His movie,
just like that. Yeah.
But I do agree. Like, it's to the point now, especially because television, you know, the last, what, 5, 6 years. And well, I mean, I know it started with The Sopranos. So we're talking just like how it's gained traction over the last 20 years, but especially in the last 10, you can't, like, you're watching television shows that are with budgets and quality of most movies. So we got into that same place. We've been to the theater twice this entire year. And and we were the same way. Like, it's an experience. There was always something coming out that we wanted to see. Now we're like, do we want to spend $15 plus popcorn, which is going to turn into $50 to go to a movie that we can wait 90 days for it to be on a streaming service? It's the fastest turnaround to streaming and video in history.
And it's $20 to get. So, like, does it make sense for me to want to rent a movie for $20?
And not leave my house?
To me, no.
No, well, yeah.
Because, but like, for a family of 4, when going to a movies is going to cost you $150. Right. Like, of course you're going to go to Walgreens and get candy and popcorn, make an event out of it, you know. But you're in a golden era of television that I would go so far as to say I don't think The Sopranos started it. I would say it started around the time of The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad was, like, I've seen articles and videos about that. The Sopranos led to Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad couldn't have happened in the style and what it did if The Sopranos hadn't existed. And what the crazy thing was is that HBO was making large scale shows like that, but for some reason it just took that one to catch fire that everybody watched. And that was The Sopranos. So it's like that would kind of set the precedent, and then Breaking Bad was kind of like, okay, now we're getting like show after show after show that is super high quality, that people, like, everybody's watching. They're putting a really good budget in it, and that's where, you know, like, you got to have a really fucking good movie for people to just go out to the theaters. And at this point,
see it again and again and again.
Right. At this point, I'm so fucking CGI fatigued and superhero movie fatigued. We watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which, in comparison to the other Marvel movies, those movies are different. They're unique. I think they're way better. I was still watching it going, like, I just don't care anymore.
Okay, good. Then I'm going to talk about this because like, the way that CG is done too is, unfortunately, companies come in, okay, and they basically like say, hey, we're Marvel, we've got a movie, it's got 10,000 shots that need CG work on it.
Right.
All right, company A, B, and C, special effects company, tell me how much you would charge to do the special effects on this video, on this movie. Boom, boom. The problem is that there are very different, they go by shots, the amount of shots, not how technically difficult the shots are to put the CG in. One shot could be erasing lines off of Spider-Man as he flips building to building, right? Another one could be building the fucking Hulk. Like, and they're charging those shots equally, right?
Right.
So, like, and companies can't turn them down. I mean, production companies know that special effects companies are bent over a barrel right now because every movie requires special effects. Even Oppenheimer, it is claiming that it is a special effects-less film.
Well, no, there's editing. You have to.
It's not. But they removed 60 people from the credits. 60 visual effects artists claim to have worked on Oppenheimer and don't have credit for it.
Yeah.
And it's fucking bullshit. Like, you're gonna see a situation here in Hollywood where, like, shit's gonna change forcibly. Like,
I 100% agree.
Like, people are getting taken advantage of right now. It's actually very funny because, like, when you sent me like, here's the list, here's like the topics, so like I could get like the stuff that I was looking at and things like that. My favorite TikTok is a clip that somebody, like, you know, the noise is the same, but somebody like threw like the SAG-AFTRA logo over it, and it's like just how out of touch some people are. It's an interview. Did you either of you watch Community?
No.
Okay, it's an actor from Community who is a voiceover guy on DuckTales, and for some reason he's being interviewed on Larry King. Okay, and he's interviewing them, and Larry King, old white Larry King, is like, what's a luxury that you can't live without? And this kid is like, you know, I'm a huge fan of like good socks. Like I don't buy shitty socks. I need good socks and good coffee. And Larry King's like, that's coffee and socks is not a luxury. And he's like,
Yeah,
I don't
it
know, man.
is.
And but this is the best. The actor's like, I don't know, man. What's a luxury then? Like, what you asked me? I gave you an answer. What's
Right.
a luxury? The guy, Larry King goes, private plane. And the kid just looks at him in like such a deadpan, like, Larry, I'm on DuckTales. Like,
Right.
it's
You
such
think
a
I'm
great
flying on a
moment.
private jet?
Right.
So,
He's like, I'm a voiceover actor on a Disney cartoon. Like, and it's just the complete like disregard of like what it goes right back to that like Arrested Development scene where it's like, it's one banana, Michael. How much can it cost? $10?
Yeah.
It's like nobody fucking knows what it costs anymore.
So maybe you can help me make sense of this, because we were talking about this the other day, and this has to do with the actor strike. So the actors are going on strike partially because one of the issues is signing over their likeness rights that could be used with AI later down the road where they don't have to be paid. Now,
I watched that
historically-
Black Mirror episode, by the way.
Yeah. So historically, all these big blockbuster movies, the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies, like basically everything since the prequels, you know, the Star Wars prequels, have been how expensive CGI is. Meaning, like, it cost millions and millions and millions of dollars to pay these artists to go in and create all this stuff on a computer. But you're telling me that you're going to save money somehow by recreating these people over here and not paying these actors over and over and over
AI
by using AI. Like,
AI doesn't cost.
Isn't it the same thing though? Like, I mean, it's computer generated.
So you're in this situation. First off, fucking AI it's spooky. It's weird, like how good it's gotten, but it's still fucked up. You know, I use AI for D&D all the time. I use ChatGPT on every session if I got to write something, because I'm not writing 3 pages. You know, where AI is going to take away jobs is copywriters. That's where we're going to lose jobs to AI. You're not going to lose graphic design jobs. You're not going to lose creative director jobs. You're not going to lose video
But that
editor
stuff's
jobs.
coming though.
You will lose I don't think that
it's not to the quality. Like, have you?
No,
I don't think
I've
it'll
seen
ever truly replace people. But
no.
like, the problem is that like, yes, while CG is expensive, it is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper by the bulk amount that it has to be.
It would have to be though. I mean, that's
It
the
is.
thing is like, it would have to be.
That's the big
because
problem
if you're telling
with VFX
me,
companies.
if you're telling me that you can, instead of paying an actor, which based on what we've been hearing, some of them are getting paid hardly livable wages to be either an extra or a side character.
Yeah, but
that's what they're claiming.
Those are working actors.
Right.
Those are blue collar actors. Those aren't the Tom Cruises.
No, I get
that.
They're not going to
use.
I get that, but they were talking. They're not going to use their like. Likeness.
They would. Yeah, they're talking about Harrison Ford. They want to go in and make a an Indiana Jones set in between Crystal Skull and Last Crusade with an entirely CGI faced Indiana Jones. Like, they'll hire a stand-in to put the little black dots on, and then they'll CGI Harrison Ford's face on. That's what they want to do. And even more so, it's not while they're alive.
I was gonna say, is it gonna turn into the fucked up that, are they gonna use another AI fucking Paul Walker to do another fucking Fast and Furious?
I've heard that Paul Walker is supposed to appear in the new Fast and Furious movie. Like, that they're going to hire his brother.
If their family signs off
do
on
the face
it.
stuff.
I mean,
that's still so fucked up, but would he, if he was alive, do you think he would want that? No.
No, but
probably not.
But what the strike is that they're wanting people.
Paul Walker would,
They're wanting people to sign over their likeness, which means at some point the studio is only going to be the people making the money, not the family of.
Exactly.
So if you have the family on board, because there have been some, like when they've done a commercial,
when they did when they did Princess Leia at the end of Rogue
One, which they had the family.
I can understand that. Here's the thing: I can understand if there's an actor that dies during filming and you have to do something to tie off that loose end. I can understand that. I could take a little less offense to that. But having somebody that's been deceased for years and trying to bring them back in some aspect, I think is fucked up.
It is fucked up. Well, wasn't there a Super Bowl commercial
It's fucked up, and it also
where it was like Marilyn Monroe and Elvis, and it was a bunch of dead celebrities, but the concept of the commercial was kind of cute, and one of the celebrities' families sued. It was probably fucking Pepsi or Budweiser. I don't know. It was a big company. I just can't remember which one it was.
I know it wasn't Budweiser because we make Budweiser commercials.
Yeah.
This
was years ago, though.
My creative director wrote the Budweiser Super Bowl commercial that was like the "Don't Drink and Drive" one, where it was like the dog that like waited, like the guy like left and the dog like waited at the door.
Stop!
And, like,
that one's so sad.
It is sad.
Yeah, he wrote it, and it was wild to like, because I was like, I watched that when I was a child, like,
right?
You know. But yeah, I think the strike itself it's money related, number one. You know, I think this like they want our likeness rights is like just something like, I'm sure it's in there, but I'm sure like it feels low on the priority list. I feel like it's only in there because if they need to axe something, they'll get rid of that.
Right.
You know, it's like this, it's that conversation. I watched an interview with Seth Rogen once where he was talking about This Is the End, the like movie where they played themselves.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, he's like, we knew we were going to get like, we were pushing an R rating. So we threw a giant dick on the alien, on like the big demon thing.
Right.
Because we were like, look, if we got to get rid of something, let's just get rid of that. It doesn't mean anything to us anyway. We don't want it in there. So we'll get rid of it anyway. And so I'm sure that AI thing is just written into it to be like, if they got to get rid of something, it's a negotiating tactic, and it's a marketing, it's a media magnet right now. What the main source of problems is like people getting residual check for 23 cents. And it's like, all right.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, this is the first time that the Screenwriters Guild and the Screen Actors Guild have
come together on strike.
Have been on strike together since like 1940 something. And the last time it happened was like they got royalties out of it.
Right.
You know, like they didn't get royalties.
That's when royalties was created, was after that. Yeah, it was like, I would think it was in the 40s. It was either the late 30s or 40s. And then I thought there was one other time.
The writers went on strike in 2007.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, where they've not gone on strike at the same time.
Yeah. So they're supposed to be coming to the table this week, supposedly.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, at the same time, it's like, it's fucked up when you've got like CEOs being like, we're just gonna wait till they have to like foreclose on their homes, and it's like, why you're saying the quiet part out loud, like, you know that, right? Like, you're very much setting yourself up to be the Disney villain. Like, why would you say that? Why would you not be like, we're coming to the table with everything, and like why would you be like, we're not coming to the table because fuck them? Like, why would you say that?
It's the same billionaires
in the best light.
It's the same billionaires and CEOs that are basically saying, you want people to come back and work in the office? Let's just create a recession. Let's make everything so expensive that they got to go get another job.
Right. It's,
come on.
Right. We're in a world where there are just times where I just can't understand, like, people say stuff to me and I'm like, you said that out loud.
Right.
Like that was a intrusive thought 10 years ago.
Right.
And like, now you're going to just say it? Like, you're okay with it. Like, you go to sleep at night being like, I'm not a monster. Like, I can't believe it,
If you want to hear a topic, if you need advice, if you want to just chat and say hi, you can always message us on our Instagram at F__K your pod, or you can email me at Emma@99creatives and Katie at
99creatives. And
thank you, David. Yeah, David, where can we find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram. My account is at David B. Skaggs. It's where I share a lot of the work that I've been doing, and a lot of stuff that's going on in my life.
Thank you for being a guest, and for all of those listening, don't forget to do the damn thing. Okay, bye.
Adios.